Getting somebody, in a doubting frame of mind, or getting them to really look at what they've become involved in, is that usually a one-shot deal? Is that usually a one conversation, and you convince the person and they just up and get out at that point?
No, it's not. Sorry.
Right.
Unless they really are close to it themselves. Mm-hmm. Unless you kind of intuit that they've had it and they're looking exhausted and they're looking unhappy and they're kind of hoping to be rescued. I know that it's going to be very important to feel as a loved one that you're making an impact, you're making a difference, you're intervening when you need to, but you also don't want to rush it. You really want to be able to see this as a slow burn. Unless, of course, the person really is in danger. Then, you get to contact the police, you get to do what you need to do if the person's health and welfare is at immediate risk. And you will have the law behind you if that's something that really is something that you can prove, and you do need to jump in. But in most other cases, this is a situation where you want to be able to kind of entice the person to feel comfortable with you, feel safe with you, have continued communication. And the way to do that is by not coming on too strong, by not scaring the person away, and also by not acting like the kind of person that the cult has warned them about. And they have warned people against people who are going to be trying to take away their connection to the cult. It's usually translated as taking away their salvation, or taking away their rights, or taking away their freedoms. Cults will often say the opposite, right? That they're somehow upholding people's freedoms, and other people taking them out of the cult are going to try to take it away. So very often they've been made to feel scared of talking to you. And so you don't want to scare them further. You actually want to be able to prove the cult wrong. You want to be able to act in a way that they were not warned about. In fact, that's a very important thing to do. Because as soon as you do that, the person can very often, and I've heard this from former members, they can very often say, oh, actually, this is not the way they said friends and family were going to be. I'm now wondering what else they told me that might not be fully accurate. And you hope that it becomes like a house of cards. They might not be able to open up to you about that, but at least in their mind, they'll see that maybe not everything they're told is accurate. That's very good. It's very good to be able to cause that moment of conflict. The other part that's important is always to remember that if you feel like you've done something where you've pushed a person, you can tell they're closing down, and you can tell they're backing away, or you can tell they're kind of fighting you because they feel like you're fighting them. That's when you end that conversation and you apologize and you say, oh, I think I hit a note there that was unpleasant for you. I pushed a button. I really am sorry. That's why I'm asking you to guide me and let me know how to talk to you about this. And then you change the subject, because there are other things to talk about. When people are involved in cults, they become sort of like a one-note samba. That's what they talk about. And it's actually really good to be able to let them know and remind them that there are plenty of other things to cover in the conversation. So always keep in mind, how do I make sure to leave this person feeling like we had a better than expected conversation, and in fact they enjoyed it, and they kind of miss talking to me, and they might want to do it again. You don't want to risk the relationship just because you're in a hurry, but I understand why you're feeling that you're in a hurry. Something else that I wanted to make sure to mention with this is that you're going to be able to see if the person standing in front of you is acting like themselves, or if they're acting like the cult told them to act, and if they're saying things the way they've been guided to say them. Very often cults will train people to know how to handle these conversations, right? And so they'll give them the phrases to use, and they'll go through really role-playing. If someone says this to you, what do you say in response? And And so these are what are called in this field thought-stopping techniques. Because if you have an automatic response, then you don't have the feelings inside that would normally get triggered if you really had to think about how you felt, and if you had to think about if you're really happy, and if you had to think about if this is really serving all of your goals and needs. It's like if someone comes up to you on the street and says, Chris, how you doing? And you say, fine. You might not be fine at all. But if you say fine, you feel fine. Like, doesn't matter. It wasn't a real conversation. So you make sure that it's a real conversation. And the way you do that is you try to help them put things in their own words. You're going to hear cult lingo in this conversation, and you might not know why they're using the words they're using or what those words actually mean to that person, because sometimes it's English, but it's used in sort of a different way. So you can say, help me understand what you're saying. I really want to get it. What you're trying to tell me and the fact that you're spending time with me and you're wanting me to understand this, that really means a lot to me. But I want to go away from this conversation feeling like I really understood. But when you use that language, it's hard for me to understand. Can you put it into your own words? Then you take the person out of that cult persona, out of the thought-stopping techniques, and you have them become their real selves. And what can happen in that moment is it can go different directions. One is they can start to feel something which might feel uncomfortable, but at least you did something, I think, that really achieved the goal that you were hoping for. But they had to think, does this even make sense to me? Do I know what I'm saying? But also, if someone says, I can't put it into my own words, then it really means that they don't fully get it. They haven't integrated the message. They're just spitting back what they've been taught, which is also an important thing for them to understand and to know about themselves. Mm-hmm. So one more thing to add about that. When you want to get someone to really be themselves, you can sometimes remind them of things in their childhood. I was just remembering when we did such and such, or in preparation for that conversation, you bring a picture you found of a good time you had together. You remind them that life wasn't so bad before they got involved. And if they also were sort of in this group for a very long time and they might not have a memory of childhood, you let them know about something special happening in the world outside the cult, meaning something that would speak to them, something of great meaning that would speak to their heart. And you show them that that's not only possible for people involved in the cult. So you really come prepared, but again, you kind of share it like, oh, this just occurred to me. But you've done a lot of prep to get ready for that conversation. And also try to make them laugh. I have found, of the hundreds of different cults I've dealt with and the over 1,000 former members I've dealt with, that by and large, they become a pretty humorless group of people because what they're doing is of utmost importance. And
saving the world, man. There's nothing more important than that.
Right. So there's no time to just be frivolous and laugh. Right.
And that's right.
You want to be taken seriously. You want to be acting seriously. You're also exhausted. So you're not really feeling funny. But if you can make the person laugh and smile, you actually do a couple of things that are real gifts. One is you help them get back into who they really are. That they are people who really can be enjoying this life. And they will notice in that moment, this feels unfamiliar. What is this? Oh, this is joy. This is something I haven't felt in a while. Wonder why that is. But also, you help them see that a conversation with you can actually be one that helps them feel good, helps them feel physiologically better, that they can come away with it feeling relaxed. Because when you laugh, you breathe deeply, and it releases kind of good feeling chemicals in your body that make you feel better.
Right.